Now, this is the incident. Verse 3, and there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, why sit we here until we die? So many people do nothing. I'm afraid there are a great many lost people. They say, well, there's nothing I can do. Why sit we here till we die? And then there are a lot of Christians that are sitting down today doing nothing about getting the radio out. I talked to a man in Florida. I'm told that man is worth several $1 million. That man says that he's an avid listener to our radio ministry. And the man has done absolutely nothing toward getting the Word of God out, and I'm told by his church that he gives very little to getting the Word of God out today. It's amazing how people can just sit on the sidelines that are God's people and are doing nothing at all. That disturbs me. Why sit we here till we die? Let's get a move on, friends. Notice what they did. If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine's in the city, we shall die there. And if we sit still here, we die also. Now therefore come, let us fall into the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live. If they kill us, we'll die. We're going to die anyway, so we just well go into the host of the Syrians. And they rose up in the twilight to go into the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. Now, there were probably 100,000, and there could have been many more than that number that were there. It was a great host that we were told. And what had happened to them that had been in the camp of the Syrians? Well, what happened? Verse 6, for the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots, and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. And they actually, hearing this noise of the sound of chariots and a horseman, they thought that this was it. And the Syrians, as we've indicated before, the armies in that day did not march in an orderly way as they do today. It was quite haphazard when they came into camp. And Gideon did the same thing. You put them in a panic by this method. And so these people were sure that the enemy had come upon them, and that the Hittites and the Egyptians were there. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, that is, in the late evening, you see. They thought they've waited now until it's getting dark, and they've come upon us. And so they took off, and by the time they got out of the camp and were well on their way, why, it was dark. And they are not about to stop that evening. They traveled at night, and they were traveling fast. They left their tents and their horses, their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent and did eat and drink, carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again and entered into another tent, and carried thence also and went and hid it. Now in that day an army carried with them all their food. Each soldier got his own food, you see. They didn't eat at a common table. Each one brought his own. And they had an abundance. This was a long campaign. They were besieging Samaria, the city that's on the hill.